Mongolia is one of the cradles where humans have lived for long, and nomadic herders manage to live in harsh climates for 4 seasons of the year and continue practicing pastoralism. Since at least 12,000 years ago, hunters and nomads have inhabited Mongolia's territory as well as the steppes and mountainous regions of Eurasia, and domestication of animals began 5,000 years ago. Archaeological findings, funeral structures, petroglyphs, deer stones, and sacrificial stone structures belonging to the Bronze Age period are evidence that horses were domesticated in Mongolia 3,400 years ago. And since then, they have been used for pastoralism, trained for riding, and became part of the vigorous development of nomadic civilization. The Mongolian nomadic culture was formed in the inseparable ties and cult of pasture, livestock, herdsmen. In order to fatten their livestock and maximize their benefits, those herdsmen migrate year-round to select pastures rich in nutrients, which is the basis for the formation and development of the nomadic culture. Herdsmen chose their winter, spring, summer, and autumn pastures in combination with the characteristics of the 4 seasons and created a unique distribution of grazing land. It has been passed down through generations as a wonderful method of regenerating the earth through nature. Herders do not migrate to the same place for a long time. They migrate where their livestock wants to go, and their livestock is in perpetual cycle of well-being, breeding, and the ability of their owners to live without scarcity and to use their pastures properly. The migration tradition of Mongolia has led to the development of a rich heritage of intangible cultural heritage, with the content and philosophy of respecting nature, the living space, and other people. The pastures are divided according to the season: summer, spring, fall, and winter based on the amount of grass and when the grass is sufficient to eat, which is often determined by geography, climate conditions, and season. Simply put, herders stay in a pasture as long as there is enough grass. The spring, haurcha, and autumn, namurcha, encampments are typically the most temporary. Summer encampments, zoslang, will usually have semi-permanent structures such as milking pens and hitching posts. The winter encampment, ovuljo, is always the most established, with shelters for animals, storage huts, and corrals. Often in the summer, herders leave many possessions behind because they travel in smaller and lighter gear with as little furniture as possible. Otter is a short-term seasonal migration, which is conducted mostly from the tail of autumn till the head of spring, looking for greener pastures for their livestock. This is when, typically due to overgrazing or lack of rain, pasture is scarce, and one or two members of the family will travel longer distances with their livestock, searching for a better pasture. The spring migration can be the toughest as the animals will be thin. Since there are so many families living in the otter pasture region during the winter and spring, no family stays in their pastures for very long. Consequently, migrates frequently. The main reason for frequent land changes is that it quickly creates the capacity for pasture and provides a chance for regeneration. Taking the number of livestock, cultural ecological space, and geography of herdsmen's migration into account, migration types are identified as follows: Taiga area, highland area, steppe area, and in Gobi area. The rituals and customs associated with the nomadic migration are slightly different from one another because of the difference in ethnic groups and terrain's characteristics, in addition to the days of migration, the animals, and the equipment used to carry the load. There are many types by load, such as camel ridges, yak ridges, reindeer ridges, bullock cart, and camel cart. In the hot and dry climate of the Gobi region, herders live mainly by herding camels. These camels are trained from being young and used for carrying loads. Families who migrate by camel usually travel at least 50 kilometers to change their camels and sometimes make long-distance migrations that can take up to 5 days. Herdsmen living in the steppe region use yak carts. However, in rugged and high mountain areas, herdsmen cannot use yak carts, so they move on the ridges of camels and cattle. Mongol herders train camels, horses, and yaks from a very young age for transporting kids, pregnant women, and elders. During the migration, these trained animals get missions from herders to safely transport kids, pregnant women, and elders to the new pasture. For instance, when kids are being conveyed in the basket fastened on the two sides of animals. That way, fear is ridden and bond between human and animals gets strengthened. Mongolian herders decide the moving pasture in accordance with the lunar calendar. In the Mongolian lunar calendar, there are favorable and unfavorable days according to the combination of elements earth, air, fire, and water. Herders look at the lunar calendar to look for a suitable, positive, and auspicious day on which to move their herds. In the pre-migration period, they prepare for the migration and perform certain rituals such as tidying the surrounding area, burning the trash, assembling the cart, and preparing the camels and other animals. The fact that Mongolian nomads clean the base of their gear is one of the simplest ways to take care of nature. Moreover, lighting to juniper and thyme is gesture of gratitude for Mother Nature and God for well-being. In addition, the wife wears her best clothes, rides a horse, and carries a veil. It is an expression of respect for Mother Nature. On the migration route, nomads are welcomed by herders and offered tea and dairy products. It is called migration tea greeting. In the new pasture, the family members who have moved to the new pasture will be assisted in the reassembling of the yurt and animal shelters and will become good neighbors in the future. The most common dwelling used by nomads is a ger. The Mongolian ger takes less time to reassemble, and in addition to having good thermal insulation, the main wood of the house, such as pillar and wall, is light so it does not bother the pack animals when moving for a long time. Worship practices and rituals that honor Mother Nature are connected with migration. For instance, when a herder arrives at the new pasture, they have to offer its tea and milk to Mother Earth. The custom of preparing new tea, welcoming the nomadic family with food and drinks is still preserved and transmitted from generation to generation. Nomadic Mongolians have a unique way of preparing food and making clothes adapted to their nomadic life and seasonality. For instance, one of the main driving forces behind the Darkhat tribe's migration in Husul region is the traditional Darkhat salt tea. Local salt cures gastrointestinal diseases and supports the immune system. Therefore, it is said that one who drinks Darkhat salted tea does not feel the pain, hunger, and cold on the migration route. The nomads who live in the steppe region melt the drills, stir flour, and mix oil to relieve fatigue after migration. The halmuk, clotted cream, is very tasty to eat. Once you eat the halmuk, you will be healthy and won't feel pain, hunger, and fatigue during the journey. Mongolian nomadic customs and practices affect human morals and upbringing, such as living in harmony with Mother Nature, valuing and cherishing the water that washes the fallen land, lovingly protecting livestock, pastures, flora, and fauna, and continuing the history of our ancestors, so it is a fundamental value for humanity. Nomadic Mongolians have developed a civilization of common life through wealth creation, the establishment of a nomadic state, urban development, commercialization, religion, literacy, culture, education, and science.